The owner of the adjoining pasture, his Connaught neighbor Bill Barber, hailed him. "My horse," Barber declared, "is pregnant." He indicated the big Percheron which stood staring off into space. "What do you say to that?" "I say pretty soon you'll have 2 horses." Rick had reached his sheep now. It lay ruminating, alert eyes fixed on him in case he had brought any rolled oats. The alleged sheep contained an oat tropic circuit. At the sight of such cereals, it would scramble up convincingly and amble over. "What's she pregnant by?" he asked. "The wind?" "I bought some of the highest quality fertilizing plasma available in California," Barber informed him, "through inside contacts I have with the State Animal Husbandry Board." "Ever thought of selling your horse?" Rick asked. He wished to God he had a horse, in fact any animal. Owning and maintaining a fraud had a way of gradually demoralizing one, and yet from a social standpoint it had to be done, given the absence of the real article. "It would be immoral to sell my horse," Barber said. "Sell the colt then. Having 2 animals is more immoral than not having any." "How do you mean? A lot of people have 2 animals, even 3. Exploring in his coat pockets, Rick found his creased, much-studied copy of Sydney's Animal and Fowl Catalog January supplement. He looked in the index, found colts, and presently had the prevailing national price. "I can buy a Percheron colt from Sydney's for $5,000, he said. "No, you can't. Look at the listings again. It's in italics. That means they don't have any in stock, but that would be the price if they did." "Suppose," Rick said, "I pay you $500 a month for 10 months, full catalog value." "Deckard, you don't understand about horses. There's a reason why Sydney's doesn't have any Percheron colts in stock. Percheron colts just don't change hands, at catalog value even. They're too scarce." "But," Rick interrupted, "for you to have 2 horses and me none, that violates the whole basic theological and moral structure of Mercerism." "Well, you have your sheep. Hell, you can follow the ascent in your individual life, and when you grasp the 2 handles of empathy, you approach honorably. Now, if you didn't have that old sheep there, I'd see some logic in your position. Sure, if I had 2 animals and you didn't have any, I'd be helping deprive you of the true fusion with Mercer. But every family in this building has an animal of some sort." Going over to his sheep, Rick bent down, searching in the thick white wool. The fleece, at least, was genuine, until he found what he was looking for, the concealed control panel of the mechanism. He snapped open the panel covering. "See? You understand now why I want your colt so badly." "You poor guy. Has it always been this way?" "No, I had a real sheep originally. My wife's father gave it to us outright when he immigrated. Then about a year ago, remember that time I took it to the vet? You were up here that morning when I came out and found it lying on its side and it couldn't get up." "You got it to its feet," Barber said. "But then after a minute or 2 of walking around, it fell over again." "Sheep get strange diseases," Rick said. "Tetanus. That's what mine died of. Tetanus." "Up here?" Barber said. "On the roof?" "The hay," Rick explained. "That one time I didn't get all the wire off the bale. I left a piece in Groucho. That's what I called him then. Got a scratch and contracted tetanus. I took him to the vets and he died. And I thought about it, and finally I called one of those shops that manufacture artificial animals, and I showed them the photograph of Groucho. They made this." He indicated the reclining ersatz animal. "It's a premium job, but..." He shrugged. "Well, it's just not the same," Barber finished. "But almost. You feel the same doing it. You have to keep your eye on it exactly as you did when it was alive, because they break down, and everyone in the building knows. I've had it at the repair shop 6 times. The repair outfit's truck is of course marked Animal Hospital something, and the driver dresses like a vet, completely in white." He glanced suddenly at his watch, remembering the time. "I have to get to work," he said. "I'll see you this evening." As he started toward his car, Barber called after him. I won't say anything to anybody here in the building." "I don't know," Rick said. "Maybe it doesn't make any difference." "But they'll look down on you. Not all of them, but some. You know how people are about not taking care of an animal. They consider it immoral and anti-empathic. I mean, technically it's not a crime like it was right after WWT, but the feeling's still there." "God," Rick said, I want to have an animal. I keep trying to buy one, but on my salary, on what a city employee makes. Well, you could buy a cat. Cats are cheap. Look in your Sydney's catalog. I don't want a domestic pet, Rick said. I want what I originally had, a large animal, a sheep, or if I could get the money, a cow or a steer, or what you have, a horse. The bounty from retiring 5 Andes would do it, he realized. But, he thought, the 5 Andes first have to make their way to Earth from one of the colony planets. I can't control that. And even if I could, the Andes would specifically have to take up residence in Northern California. Buy a cricket, Barber suggested. Or a mouse. Hey, for $25 you can buy a full-grown mouse. Your horse could die, Rick said, like Groucho died, without warning. He strode off, car key in his hand. Sorry if I offended you, Barber said. In silence, Rick Deckard plucked open the door to his hover car. He had nothing further to say to his neighbor. His mind was on his work, on the day ahead. In a giant, empty, decaying building which had once housed thousands, a single TV set hawked its wares to an uninhabited room. The ownerless ruin had, before World War Terminus, been tended and maintained. Here had been the suburbs of San Francisco. No one today remembered why the war had come about or who, if anyone, had won. The dust, which had contaminated most of the planet's surface, had originated in no country, and no one, even the wartime enemy, had planned on it. First, strangely, the owls had died. After the owls, of course, the other birds followed, but by then the mystery had been grasped and understood. A meager colonization program had been underway before the war, but now that the sun had ceased to shine on Earth, the colonization entered an entirely new phase. In connection with this, a weapon of war, the synthetic freedom fighter, had been modified. Able to function on an alien world, the humanoid robot, strictly speaking, the organic android, had become the mobile donkey engine of the colonization program. Under UN law, each immigrant automatically received possession of an android subtype of his choice, and by 2019 the variety of subtypes passed all understanding, in the manner of American automobiles of the 1960s. The UN had made it easy to immigrate, difficult if not impossible to stay. Loitering on Earth potentially meant finding oneself abruptly classed as biologically unacceptable. Once pegged as special, a citizen, even if accepting sterilization, dropped out of history. He ceased, in effect, to be part of mankind. And yet thousands of individuals remained, most of them constellated in urban areas where they could physically see one another, take heart at their mutual presence. Those appeared to be the relatively sane ones, and, in dubious addition to them, occasional peculiar entities remained in the virtually abandoned suburbs. John Isidore, being yammered at by the television set in his living room as he shaved in the bathroom, was one of these. I wonder if I'm late for work, Isidore wondered. He did not own a working clock. Generally, he depended on the TV for time signals, but today was Interspace Horizon Day, evidently. Anyhow, the TV claimed this to be the 5th or 6th anniversary of the founding of New America, the chief U.S. settlement on Mars, and his TV set, being partly broken, picked up only the channel which had been nationalized. The government in Washington, with its colonization program, constituted the sole sponsor which Isidore found himself forced to listen to. "Let's hear it from Miss Maggie Klugman," the TV announcer suggested. A recent immigrant to Mars, Mrs. Klugman, in an interview taped live in New York, had this to say. Miss Klugman, how would you contrast your life on contaminated Earth with your new life here?
I think what I and my family of 3 noticed most was the dignity.
Back on Earth, Miss Klugman, in the old days, did you also worry about finding yourself classified as special?
Oh, my husband and myself worried ourselves nearly to death. Of course, once we emigrated, that worry vanished. Fortunately, forever.
To himself, John Isidore thought acidly, and it's gone away for me, too, without my having to immigrate. He had been a special now for over a year, and not merely in regard to the distorted genes which he carried. Worse still, he had failed to pass the minimum mental faculties test, which made him, in popular parlance, a chickenhead. Upon him the contempt of 3 planets descended. However, despite this, he survived. He had his job, driving a pickup and delivery truck for a false animal repair firm. His boss accepted him as human, and this he appreciated.